In 2020, fans have been more important than ever before. Communities have had to stick together during the pandemic while certain stadiums are partially full, but most are still empty. Right here in Canada, however, where the game is still growing, certain fans are bringing the heat from coast to coast. They are just so passionate about their teams, and they have an incredible sense of community. Historically, the country's top atmospheres have been with Toronto FC and Montreal Impact. Here at BMO Field, U Sector leads the way. They have been through everything, and they bring that sort of European-style atmosphere to the TFC faithful. In Montreal, that same European flair comes from the incredible supporter group 1642 Montreal. Having said this, however, Canadian soccer is moving far past its MLS giants. Grassroots football in this country has a golden opportunity, thanks not only to the Canadian Premier League, but to its amazing supporter groups, such as the Privateers 1882 from Halifax, the Lakeside Boys from Victoria, and Red River Rising from Winnipeg. Not only that, but Atletico Ottawa is hoping to make an impact and bring a heat to the capital thanks to its Bytown boys. We're gonna get a chance to talk to all of these incredible supporter groups in Canada that just push the game in the right direction. I am Thomas DeBost, and I'm your host. This is Ultra, the 12th Man.
We're out there singing and clapping and cheering. It's not just for the players on the pitch, it's for everybody in the stadium and everybody outside the stadium. It's for the whole city.
The Canadian government announcing this afternoon that all future sporting events to be played behind closed doors due to the coronavirus pandemic.
We're all anxiously awaiting to see what the next year is going to look like and how long this is going to go on. So if we can get back into the stadium sometime soon, that would be ideal.
If you've ever been around Toronto soccer, you have heard of U Sector. They've been around since 2000, before TFC was even founded. They used to be called Toronto Ultras, but then changed their name due to where they were sitting at back at Varsity Stadium. Pre-COVID, they were absolutely rocking it front and center in Section 113 at BMO Field, and they were a huge part of that incredible atmosphere. And you could be sure that as soon as fans are allowed back in there, they will be giving it their all for their very own 2017 MLS champs.
Supporters groups kind of start off as just groups of friends, right? That want to be able to support their team is generally kind of how it naturally starts, I think, or it's just a collective group of people that want to support a particular way, and they're seeing it not happening, and then they form kind of their own group, and that's how it goes. So because we have this kind of core basis of this group, we started off as friends.
I came back having been 12 years in Asia, and so, I mean, over those 12 years, I drifted away from anybody that I was friends with at school or in high school or any of that kind of stuff. From these first couple of meetings that we had when the club was about to be formed, trying to like decide that we want to be a thing and that we want to adopt U Sector as our thing from the guys that were part of that from its beginning, it became my entire social existence.
You know, we've watched people grow and change and get married and have children, and it's kind of nice being able to do that.
It's like your family, yeah.
It's exactly like a family, and like it doesn't mean that you don't hate some people and they don't drive you crazy and you want to kill them some days, but you know, that's what family is, right? So it's the core of that, being that TFC fan, like, is made a little bit more special because I'm able to experience it and have those people surrounding me when it does happen. When the South End is rocking and everyone's really just feeling, there's nothing like it. Being in the middle of that, the endorphins running through the crowd of what you're watching is kind of a phenomenal feeling. There's something in the air sometimes that just makes it happen, and it's kind of magical when it does, though.
These Canadian atmospheres, especially at BMO Field in Toronto, continue to improve and expand. But Canadian soccer fans have been passionate for a long time. Those rowdy atmospheres are something that current Liverpool women's goalkeeper and former Canadian international Riley Foster knows all about.
We had a sellout crowd at BMO Stadium against Finland, I believe. And I remember us being down in the game. I think it was like 2-1 or something like that. And like we needed to win to move on to the next level. And the stadium was rocking. Like everything about it was moving. We had fans from like, I couldn't even tell you where they were from, but that thing was packed. And the sound it made, I know you guys have probably been in like TFC Stadium. That is structured perfectly to amplify sound. And it did that night. Like I've never experienced anything like it. It was kind of one of those moments where you just kind of like, you want to just stand there and just like take it all in, but you couldn't because you have to be focused on the game. But everywhere I've gone across the world for the Canadian national team, I've always had the honor to connect with so many different people.
1642 Montreal is one of the most notorious group in the entire MLS, causing absolute pandemonium behind the goal. They will follow their impact anywhere they go. Playing at home games, you can hear them and see them ringing that iconic big bell at Stadium Saputo. And although Montreal is still a fairly new MLS club, their culture and fanfare gives them a seasoned feel, and you can bet that they'll continue to battle Toronto for the title of biggest club in the country.
We start with the fact that we think Montreal is the best city, the most gorgeous city, and the people are just as gorgeous. We have these pre-game rituals, sort of like American football. We tailgate in the parking lot of Stade Saputo, and that's where pretty much you would have you would get your gossip, you would get your match day information, and that's one thing that keeps you tied to this group. It starts with the notion that we have fun together, making tifos, making new scarves. You can see our emblem, the fox, is hanging right over there. We just have loads of fun because the thing is, you work for 40 hours a week, and this is your downtime. This is your hobby. It has to be fun.
Speaking of fun, no one in MLS knows how to do it quite like the Impact after a big goal. And it's all thanks to their now iconic bell-ringing celebration in the supporters section.
We started out with the idea of a goal ritual, and Mark Twain said that Montreal was the city of 100 bells. This is the 101st, and we've had so many notable personalities going from Georges St-Pierre to Olympic athletes to like Canadian football legends. And it's just helped this cross-pollination of Montreal athletes has helped to popularize, I think, soccer culture. If you really want like a big game atmosphere, it's at Stade Saputo that it's there. When you have for 90 minutes, you have us, you have the Ultras, you have 127 that's singing their heart out, trying to support the club, trying to bring those last-minute goals in. I would tell you there's nothing like our stadium.
Although MLS is technically the highest level of football in Canada, the Canadian Premier League has taken our country's soccer devotion to the next level. Behind every team is a story, and we got the chance to talk with the supporter groups that are growing the beautiful game in this country.
I was going dedicated. I'm going to games at 11 o'clock at night, working all day and then going to play games at 11 o'clock at night, getting home at, 1:30 in the morning and getting up for work the next day because we really love the sport.
The Halifax Wanderers have been a big presence in the Canadian Premier League. They're coming off of a final appearance just this year. And with the help of their incredible Privateers 1882 supporter group, they're really hoping to put maritime footy on the map. The Wanderers are a prime example of the support from the stands being equally as good as the product on the field.
I mean, there's nothing like being a member of a football supporters club. You can't do it with any other sport, right? And showing people why they should join up is the most legal fun you can have, I always say.
We are a massive footy house. One son supports United, the other one supports Arsenal. I support nobody because I am the mother. So when these guys came to Halifax, I was ecstatic because it was a team that we could actually all support together. And when I first witnessed the energy of the Privateers at our very first match, I actually felt transported back to Europe. Like, the bouncing and the sending off smoke and the horns and the drums. I literally flashed back to Germany. I was back in Europe. It was insane.
The crest on the front of the shirt here, represents the whole city and everybody in it. One thing I like to say is that Privateers and myself, when we're out there singing and clapping and cheering, it's not just for the players on the pitch. It's for everybody in the stadium and everybody outside the stadium. It's for the whole city. It's for Dartmouth and Halifax and Lower Sackville and Bedford. And it's for everybody.
In British Columbia, Lakeside boys support every level of football, from grassroots all the way up to their brand new CPL franchise, Pacific FC. Because they're a supporter group for an entire region and a sport in general, and not just a singular club, they create this amazing community atmosphere. Obviously, COVID-19 has disrupted so many of their 2020 plans, but you can be sure that as soon as they can, they'll go back to business as usual, supporting the sport that they love in the region they represent.
It's grown more into a community, right? We support Vancouver Island community. Yes, Victoria and Greater Victoria area we do first, but we support football in general on the island. And not just football, but with like community initiatives, from food, raising money for food banks, for children in need. Last year we raised money and tickets for children, disadvantaged children.
The main goal of a soccer club, or really any sports club, for that matter, shouldn't be about kicking things around on a pitch to put people in stadiums so that you can sell them tickets. That shouldn't be the main thing. It should always be about building community. Pacific FC has done a lot of work in trying to not just get people to come to their stadium, but to build the community, and not just the soccer community. Like a couple of things that Mike was saying, we've done a lot of charity work with them.
It's more than just supporting the guys on the pitch, but also in our community itself. And I think if it wasn't for the Lakeside boys, we wouldn't have been at the point where the CPL and the amount of support we have from the community here for football. I think the Lakeside boys actually has helped grow football here in the lower Vancouver Island, just because of that.
It was all about community for me, because I got to meet some of the best people in the world, being a soccer supporter.
We love you, Islanders, we do. Oh, Islanders, we love you. We love you, Islanders, we do. We love you, Islanders, we do.
Yeah, the times that we went over to BC Place to cheer on the Canadian men's national team or the women's national team, those were great memories.
Speaking again of the women's national team, former Canada striker Carmelina Moscato sat down with us to discuss the importance of Canadian fans, including a story that would give any football supporter goosebumps.
So I was a striker at the time and was able to, make my way onto the U19 team, the first ever team that played in a youth championship in 2002, and it happened to be held in Edmonton. Which, if you think of all the locations that tournament could have been, I mean, how lucky were we? And I'll never forget it. 47,000 Canadians showed up Commonwealth Stadium to cheer on a little U19 team that there was no history there. They really were just showing their patriotism. And they allowed a group of little girls to dream of something bigger. I mean, that crowd that was there made us feel like absolute superstars. I mean, I didn't even feel my legs for the first half. I started the game and I had an adrenaline rush that was beyond belief. So I caught my legs, my knees weren't shaking in the second half, but it was one of those moments where, it's like nothing you've ever experienced. The energy, the cheering, and they were pro-Canadian. It was insane. They were for us. So yeah, and I would go as far as to say they were a big reason we dreamt to continue to play and strive for greatness. We wanted to feel that connection again.
Few supporter groups have had to adapt like the Bytown Boys of Atletico Ottawa. Originally serving as a supporter group for their CSL team, Capital City, and more notably the Ottawa Fury, they have always been there to develop the beautiful game in the nation's capital. Now with Ottawa's inclusion into the CPL, you can be sure that they'll hit the ground running and continue to be a driving force in the community.
When Ottawa said they were going to get a CSL team, I wanted to be part of a supporter group culture. It was just starting out, made friends, became a form of family, and we just grew, and here we are now. Bytown Boys gave me a life, a social life, and it helped me improve myself.
I find it's very important to have a team in the CPL. Originally, Fury folded, and I didn't think that we were going to have a team this year. COVID happened, and we got a little bit of a tournament, which is fine. But we also didn't think that we were going to have a full team. We had about a month before our season was originally supposed to start, and we didn't have our full team wasn't announced. So just being able to watch soccer games this year was pretty amazing. The Bytown Boys, when I first walked in and I was introduced to everybody, they made me feel like family. They welcomed me. I didn't feel out of place. I normally am very, very shy, and I was able to just be myself.
When I started getting into soccer, football, my dad started getting back into it, so we developed another relationship. And then he started coming to games. At his funeral, the joke is that there should have been a supporter section, flags and drums, because one half of the church was family, the other half were everyone from the supporter section from Fury. So that was the joke. We should have had drums and flags for him in the church.
When Valor FC was created back in 2017, Winnipeg was looking for an amazing supporter group to call their own and develop the sport in the entire region of Manitoba. They found exactly that in Red River Rising. This incredibly passionate group of supporters is capable of anything for their club. As you can imagine, they had amazing plans for this incredible year before the pandemic started, but you can be sure that as soon as they're back in the stands, they'll pick up right where they left off.
And Valor coming to Winnipeg has really changed everything. Here there was such a long time where people had nothing, and yet we're so passionate. I mean, the Voyageurs Cup was purchased here. So there's a long history of sort of passionate soccer supporters here that have just had nothing and nowhere to watch live games. Valor coming, it gave us a chance to get together regularly, to experience cheering and singing and just enjoying the true full rich experience of being a soccer supporter.
I think in terms of having a CPL team here in Winnipeg, it's definitely expanded the soccer culture here in Winnipeg. I mean, there's always been a base of fans here in Winnipeg, but mainly it's been either, like as Mickey and Christopher said, either for watching national team games or European club games, but just having that, our team to call our own and go out to support, chant and sing songs and, you know, meet up with others in the group. It's definitely helped out to build that culture, and that's something we want to build on.
My favorite memory is heading to the stands for the first game in the inaugural season. That was something that I didn't expect. I wasn't sure that I'd see professional soccer in my city again, and to march the match with the fans and other supporters, setting off smoke, playing our drums, waving our flags, and to get into the stands and seeing around 10,000 people in the stadium for that first game, and the noise and how well the team was received and how well we represented Winnipeg, I think, was such a great experience. And I was waiting for it, and it did not disappoint. I loved it.
Looked around at the room and just realizing how much of a family we had become. A group of people that a year before hadn't even known each other. We were truly family, and not just the members in our group, but amongst the players. We got to know some of them so well. It sounds almost a little bit cliched, but they really were, even the players and the coaching staff, we really developed a really close community family feel that I just quite frankly wouldn't have ever expected before the season started. So for me, that moment when I looked at the room a packed room full of people. Mostly I didn't even know the year before, and now we were truly family. That's, I think, the most amazing thing for me.
The pandemic may have stopped a lot of things, but passion is certainly not one of them. If anything, it's strengthened it. After learning these stories both as collectives and individuals, it becomes clearer than ever that football is the only sport in the world where fans are a true part of every single club. These fanatics are just as valuable as the players on the pitch, and the second that they can go back to normal, Canadian soccer will be better for it.